Hello everyone, my name is Ridhima Vedi Thareja, Brand and Marketing Manager at Employability.life, and I welcome you all to the Hello EL podcast, where we decode future of work and skills that matter the most. And today's topic for the podcast is communication in the age of disruption. What could be more relevant, right? So, from AI to automation, from cultural shifts to workplace transformation, communication is not just a soft skill, it is a survival skill. To delve into this topic more, we have Mr. Abhi Mahapatra, who has over 2 decades of experience in communications, PR, and brand building. Mr. Mahapatra has held leadership roles as former director at Amazon, head of communications at Uber, head of PR, policymaking, and CSR at Nissan. He also has global experience spanning China, South Asia, Middle East, and Africa. He has consulted with Audi, Hyundai, Harley Davidson, and many more. We are honored to have you, Mr. Mahapatra.
Thank you, Ridhima, for having me, and it's a pleasure to be here today at Employability.life.
Mr. Mahapatra, disruption seems to define everything today, from AI and automations to social shifts and pandemics. So, how do you think young professionals can prepare themselves in this disruptive environment?
I think it's a great question. I fundamentally believe that disruption has turned communications from a function to a strategic capability. I think this is a very important thing for us to understand, especially the younger students. And I say younger because we all are students of life. So the second point is, communications is no longer about sending or receiving information. I think it's about shaping real meaning and narrative in real time with real people and real experiences.
Right.
I think that is important again for us to understand. The other point is, look, because of social media and the digital acceleration, what has happened is our attention span, it has shortened, but our influence has expanded.
Right.
Right? So these are all like probably dichotomy. There's some bit of dichotomy in all of these. So we have to understand that as well. And my last point is, communication has always been very multidimensional. But the stakeholders in today's day and age are far more complex, if not complicated. Okay, so we need to understand how do we build or create narratives where we put not just the customer in the center, but also our clients, also our communities. So I think from your question about how is the role of communication evolved in this disruptive environment, I think these are the 4 or 5 key points which comes to my mind. And the last thing is, the role of communication has always been about trust, transparency. It has always been about connecting the truth aided with technology.
Right.
I don't think that's going to change ever. So I think this for me pretty much sums up the first point.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you. Even there's a report published by McKinsey where they have mentioned that companies who have strong internal communication, they tend to outperform 3.5 times more at the time of crisis, because strong internal communication, as you mentioned, that it's not just what you do with your customers, but also about what you do internally.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I can tell you from my experience, when we started off our career 25 years ago, there was internal communication for sure, but internal communication was not the go-to kind of function or not the primer important kind of channel. It was done to effectively, don't get me wrong, it was done effectively, but it was not the core. But I think the last 5 years has taught us a lot as a civilization, as a function, as a profession. And we have seen the emergence of, how do you connect with your stakeholders, including your employees, when they don't come to work.
Right.
When they don't come to work because it's not conducive for them to come to work.
Right.
So the pandemic taught us many things, and I think there is always these triggers. Sometimes it is designed, sometimes it is default, which allows us to really dig deep and figure out ways and means to communicate. And I think internal communication, and McKinsey would be 100% spot on with their research, has played a huge role in not just getting people work ready, but also getting people to be more motivated and engaged when they don't see each other at work anymore. It was the first kind of an experience for all of us. So yeah, and I think lastly on this point, I fundamentally believe, communication has never been and should never be about control.
Right.
Many brands use it as a control mechanism, which I think can be bettered. I think it is more about connection than control.
And I think communication these days is not top down. It is more of participative, and because of the digitalization, so everybody is getting involved in it.
Yeah.
So that's a scenario which has been changing, and I think it's changing for good if it's participative.
Yeah, and the best, I've always said this, the best communicators are not message makers,
Right.
They are meaning makers.
Right. Because there has to be an emotional connect when you are messaging.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the shift. Earlier, communication was more about the newsletters and the corporate memos, and also just the old memes. But now it is more about podcasts, real AI-generated storytelling. So what's your take on that?
I'm a firm believer that while channels have changed or more channels have come in, the fundamentals, they remain the same. Like the formats are changing, obviously. Like we no longer send pigeons to send messages, right?
Right.
We send a WhatsApp messages, fine. The formats have changed,
Right.
but the intent, the action, the motive behind communicating, some fundamentals remain the same. I also believe that and what are these fundamentals? Like the fundamentals of empathy, the fundamentals of authenticity, the fundamentals of transparency, the fundamentals of clarity in communication. Those will never change, and the more they are solid, the better you are able to adapt to newer channels. Like the way you communicate on Snapchat will definitely, I would assume, would need a little bit of creativity.
Right.
But the way you also talk on, say, podcasts like this one, you also need clarity. Otherwise, you will be just blabbering and maybe it will not make a lot of sense. So I think those things are superbly important. To me, as a professional, as a comms professional, I think it is important that youngsters understand and take time to really learn these fundamentals.
Right.
Because some skills are very time bound.
Right. And as you've mentioned that empathy is required for every person who is coming in the communication. So I was just reading an article long few years back, I would say, that was by Harvard Business Review. And they mentioned, I think it was somewhere around 2023, and they mentioned that even in the AI world, emotional intelligence would be the best technology existing.
I'm so glad you talked about this because I'm sure the search for AI is, I don't know, multifold X times more than the search for EI. Nobody talks about it, or people do talk about it, but I don't see that being practiced or even understood well. It is
Right.
often misunderstood than not. Look, platforms, going back to the earlier point, platforms may change every few months or years, right? Fundamentals won't. Similarly, to be future ready, one cannot do away with things that matter to humans.
Right.
Empathy, emotion, intelligence, creativity are very human-centric approach to communicate.
100%.
We were talking earlier when we were discussing about verbal and non-verbal communications. 80% of the communication that happens usually is non-verbal.
Non-verbal.
Right? Your body language, how you talk, your tonality, what you don't say but still mean, those things mean a lot. Would machines ever understand that? We'll see. Maybe someday they would, but not today.
Right. So, Mr. Mahapatra, at Employability.life, we talk about adaptability and future-ready workforce. So, what are the core communication skills you think that are required to make someone truly ready for the future?
Ridhima, this has been something that has been passed on to us when we were youngsters. And I'm going to share my learnings with the audience and with whoever is listening to this podcast. And those things have not much changed. For me, the most uncommon thing today, which I find, is common sense. So, if we apply smart thinking, it has to be guided with common sense. Sometimes we lack that. So, how to be mindful of using the most common sense that we have as humans. So, that's number one. Number two is listening. We youngsters, well, I would be wrong to say just youngsters, even us at this age, we have lost the art of listening. I think it's a very important tool of communication. Communication is not just about talking, it's also about listening. And listening with intent, it's the most underrated communication skill. The next one I feel is storytelling, but which is data-led.
Right.
And without data-led storytelling, it is not sticky. So, because people want proof, people want, if you want to believe in a story, you need data and rationale for that story.
Right.
Right. And there is an emotional storytelling as well, but naturally for brands, facts matter. So that's the other one. The next one I feel for youngsters is the art of curiosity. Because I believe without curiosity, your skill of adaptability goes down. If you are, very curious about things, you will also be ready to adapt.
Right.
And this is, again, the ability to learn new formats quickly is adaptability.
Right.
But curiosity will allow you to even reach there.
Right.
That's very important. Last couple of points which I feel is understanding culture and understanding cross-cultural and contextual kind of sensitivities are super important.
Right.
Today, everybody is overtly or sometimes very sensitive about many things. As a brand, tomorrow you will become a brand manager, tomorrow you will lead large brands, tomorrow you will work in various places. You have to understand cultural sensitivities because you are working again with communities, And last but not the least, youngsters should learn the skill of feedback. How to give, and more importantly, how to receive.
Take, yeah.
Because communicating up, down, and across the teams effectively is super critical.
Right.
Even as a junior or as a leader, you will need to learn the art of feedback. I think these are the few things which I feel, especially in a world that is obsessed with speaking louder, especially in a world where everybody is trying to one up the other. I'm talking about brands. I think the smartest professionals will be the ones who listen better, who take feedback better, and who are intensely driven with their curiosity.
Right. I absolutely agree. So this takes me to, I'm reading a book these days, TED Talks. So you must have read that. So you know what, I completely agree, because if firstly you mentioned that whatever conversation you are having, that should have some purpose, because if you're not prepared, if you really don't understand the base, I think the conversation, whatever will come out, will be of no use. And if it doesn't have any purpose, that will be of no value to the person to whom you are communicating and to you as well. And second, I completely agree, feedbacks are very important to be taken, because I feel it's easy to give, but it's little difficult to take. And specifically, I would say that today people, sometimes they feel like, yeah, that's fine, theek hai, ho jayega, something like that. But yeah, it has to be taken. If you're not taking it positively, even the critical feedbacks should be taken positively, because that really helps for your growth.
Positively and constructively.
Constructively,
Like just taking positively may not help you implement. If you take it constructively, then you will go back to the drawing board to say, okay, I got this feedback.
yeah.
I don't think I completely deserve it, but there are areas where I think I can relook at.
Right.
And that is construction
Right.
at the base. That is being constructive about it.
And I think that is very important for the growth.
Yes.
Otherwise, you'll not grow. If you're not
Absolutely.
taking it.
Absolutely. And no one is perfect, by the way.
Yeah. Of course. Mr. Mahapatra, you have an experience of more than 2 decades, and you must have worked with so many people, right? So how do you think young professionals, because they feel overwhelmed with all these chat GPTs they are using for the content creation and mid journey for the image generation, so how do you think they can stay authentic while embracing these technologies?
I think authenticity comes from within. It's like building a character. It can't be taught.
Right.
When you are looking at how do you communicate effectively and transparently, it has elements of authenticity into it. Especially, when you are handling crisis scenarios. For me, my biggest learning has been in moments of crisis, especially in a public relations crisis or a communications brand crisis. Your first message may not be perfect, but it should be honest.
Right.
I think that is authentic. And sometimes, speed comes also with sensitivity. There's no point of, the first to respond when your facts are wrong or you're trying to just cover up. That doesn't help. People always remember the tone more than the timing. They will always remember how you spoke, what you told them. And of course, timing is important, don't get me wrong, when you tell them is also important. But people, again, personally, I feel, and professionally, I felt that people remember the tone more than timing. So that's important. And the last thing which I would say is, going back to fundamentals. When there is a backlash and when there is a crisis, how do you remain calm? Because if you are agitated with crisis,
Right.
you may not be making the best decisions, which is in the interest of your brand or organization. And if you are not calm, I doubt you will be very empathetic. And if you're not that, then I doubt that you will have clarity within few minutes or hours that you have to respond to.
100%. That's something on which I completely agree, because I think even this is a world where everybody is using AI, right? But AI can't replicate empathy, and AI can never replicate human and humanity, humor, and also the trust.
AI is like always been or should be seen as an enabler. It's not a replacement of humans.
Right.
It will aid us. It's like any other technology, right? Like when internet came, we didn't discuss that. Well, there was a debate whether internet will make humans dumb, but I think it has only made humans more intelligent or
Right.
smarter. But we have used internet effectively, right? But if you use AI in a way which is very basic and very rudimentary, then you can't then go back and feel, oh, we are going, or we are not being any smart, or we are not smarter now because we are using AI ineffectively. So it's an enabler. It's a tool. It's an enabler, but it is not a replacement.
Of course. And because I belong to research background, so I can tell you when I started my PhD, so what happened, I read somewhere around 200 research papers to
Wow.
actually understand what will cover my subject. But that reading and going through those 200 papers give me an idea of some other subjects too. But now the GPT has made it easy that you just put it your topic and all the relevant ones would come. But that will not give you the knowledge of other 200 you missed.
Correct. Um, I don't know how many of the listeners or how many of us have watched this movie, Good Will Hunting. Have you watched this movie?
No.
Okay, if you
I
go
will.
go ahead and watch it tonight or over the weekend, whatever. So in this movie, Good Will Hunting, we have the character of Robin Williams, who is a psychiatrist, and we have the character of Matt Damon, he's a child prodigy in mathematics, and they are talking to each other, and that's where there's a dialogue from Robin Williams, who tells Matt Damon, because he's also an orphan, that by reading Oliver Twist, I will not exactly understand what you went through. So we cannot paint everybody with the same stroke
Same
of brush. So it's important for us to also understand that AI is an amplifier as well as a disruptor. It's like a technology has its own Bain and Boone story, right?
Of course.
It's how we allow AI to help us.
Agree. It's on us that how we are.
Yeah, I know, like that example also comes to my mind, right? Like you can wear a health fitness tracker on your wrist, but you will not become healthy by doing that.
Yeah, that can make you do diet and that can make you enable to work out.
Yeah, like you have to go to the gym or go to play a sport or go for a walk, whatever it is.
Right.
But just by wearing smart gadgets will not make you healthy.
Of
A
course.
smart gadget is an enabler for you to understand your trackers and your monitors and all of that. But if you are just sleeping, it will only tell you how good you sleep.
And how much calories you burnt at that
Yeah,
time.
that's all. So it's like that.
We have talked enough about AI, and AI is the elephant in the room. But how do you think that AI is disrupting communication, or do you think it is enhancing? I know you have just mentioned that it can be an enabler and it can take over. It's just up to you that how you are taking it, right?
Yeah,
How
as
are you
I said, it can be a disruptor, it can be an amplifier. For me, AI is the electricity of communication.
Oh,
It powers communication, but the spark still has to come from human.
right. The human touch has to
Yeah.
be there. There's a report published by Deloitte. I think that's in somewhere around 2024, and they did a research on the CMOs, and the results came out really different. 62% of the CMOs feel that AI is good for the content creation, but 28% of them feel that it cannot understand the emotional connect.
So how is the content relevant, topical, and successful if you don't have emotional connect in it?
Of course, and I think,
So-
yeah, brands like Cadbury, I think they succeeded in India because of their uh, their methodology behind it, that they really wanted to touch the Indian family culture. So that is why all the advertisements are somewhere based around the same thing. So I think if the marketing team is not understanding the human aspect and the human touch, so do you think that AI can somewhere or someday really take over that human touch and human factor?
It's hard to do that, to be honest, because humans are most complicated.
Right.
How you react to a certain situation will vary depending on which side of the bed you got off from, or how you felt throughout the day, and how the other persons
Right.
have made you feel, blah blah blah. So feeling, touch, senses, smell, the five senses that we say, AI can help you probably see somebody who is challenged visually to see better, somebody who is challenged to hear. AI can be an enabler for that. But I don't know today, to be honest, I don't know whether AI can help us smell better or touch better or even feel better.
Right.
I don't know. But of course, I was reading through some of the research papers on AI and communication and its deeper impact, especially on Gen Z. And it said that a lot of Gen Z are resorting to AI to combat loneliness. So it's a very challenging situation. In a way, if you look at it, okay, at least they have a friend to talk to.
Right.
And AI is always very positive, and they have like a friend to talk to. But at the end of the day, their friend is a technology.
Right.
So, God forbid, the internet is not there, or Wi Fi has a problem, your friend is gone.
Right.
You cannot have a drink with that friend. You cannot have a coffee with that friend. You cannot share a meal with that friend. Right? But maybe at times when you're living alone and you need somebody to talk to, you have seen this in the movie Her, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that is also the way of life. I don't know today. I would not. I would not subscribe to that way of life. But you never know.
And I feel most of your best friends are your best friends because they are available to you emotionally. And so I think I completely agree because AI can't provide you that emotional intelligence and emotional availability. So they can be there, but probably they might not give you the
Depends on what you're seeking.
Yeah.
If you're
That's a
seeking
fact.
superficial, artificial, emotional dependence, maybe AI is the best thing to go to.
But do you
But you don't know what you're seeking most of the times.
exactly, and I think it can't be that critic as your real friend is. Even if you're giving the prompt that give me the critic review,
Yeah, it won't.
it won't. It
It
won't
won't.
tell you the truth.
Today, it is
Today.
not trained enough.
Yeah.
Maybe tomorrow, if it is trained enough,
Right.
then think about it. I always think, losing somebody you love, whether it's a human or a pet, is the most hardest thing for humans, right?
Right.
Anybody you love. But tomorrow, if there is AI and that AI is integrated in your communication between that person and you, AI will learn everything about that person and how the person communicates with you and what you communicate with that person. So even if that person is no more, can there be an AI model which actually replaces that person because it would have learned for the next 20 years how you guys behave and talk?
Right.
It's a big question. So maybe people are already working on it. I don't know. And if they are not, then gone.
They should.
My becoming a billionaire idea is gone.
All right. That's a very good conversation. I'm really enjoying it. I think that's what more important is. This reminds me of ये जो अभी नेपाल में हुआ है. They banned the internet. ठीक है. उसकी वजह से जितना बड़ा बवाल हुआ है. I think reason being because people are so much dependent on internet, they can't live without it, right? These days. So I think something like that can happen with AI. I remember the time when TikTok was banned in India. There were so many protests by Gen Zs. How can they do this and something? Because it has become part of their life.
Yeah, but they moved on very quickly to Reels.
Exactly.
So they will find a way.
Right.
They will find a way. But I think the Nepal thing was more than banning the internet. I think I think it was more about curtailing the expression and freedom of speech.
Yeah.
And freedom of expression. I think that was more the issue, which I think the youngsters and the Gen Zs took it up in a way they did. We can always debate that it was wrong or right, but I think that was a real kind of issue.
You know what? When I was working as an assistant professor, I used to give this example to all my students that it's just a game of biryani. Suppose there are two biryanis in front of you. One is very well decorated and in a good mitti ka pot, and there's another one just presented normally. What would you choose? And everybody used to answer, of course, the well decorated one. And I feel that is what the communication is. This doesn't matter, both have the same taste, but it really matters that how you present it. So what's your take on it? Do you think communication is that way? And do you really think that the students, the learners, the young professionals should learn this art of communication?
Yeah, so absolutely. I am in agreement to a large part of things that you have said. Comms communication is definitely not just a science but also an art. And tonality always matters in persuasion. If you have a different tonality to express the same thing, it may or may not work.
Right.
It may or may not work with certain age groups, how you actually present your point of view. So I believe that in the age of AI, it is important to understand what moves audiences than what moves algorithms. And what moves audiences is authenticity and authentic communication, and it has to be tapered, it has to be counseled, it has to be shaped in a way what the audience would like to hear or how they want to accept that communication. One important thing in communication always has been, it doesn't, well, it matters what you say, but more than that, how you make others feel. And that has to be relatable, and that is the art of communication. Also, I believe that the art of storytelling or communicating is a combination of 3 E's. It is evidence, because people need to trust what you're saying. It is emotion,
Right.
and it is empathy.
I think that reminds me of my favorite quotation by Simon Sinek, and he always say, "People don't buy what you do. People actually buy why you do
Why you
it,
do it.
and communication is the way to show that why."
Absolutely, I agree with you.
At Employability.life, we believe communication is the heart of employability. It shapes your career, culture, and also the confidence. How do you think a human touch can be there?
I've always believed, we need to be human first and digital second.
Right.
I've always believed that the best communicators turn noise into narratives. And lastly, I've also believed that jumping from one trend to another isn't going to drive successful or meaningful kind of outcomes. It can always, we should always respond with some meaning. And then I've also believed that communication is about purpose, even though when you have panic. Right? So I think these are the things which I feel these are not the golden rules, but at least some of the tips that has served me well and my teams well through all the organizations and all the brands that we have worked with. It is, they say that, in every message, leave people, feeling something, not just knowing something.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to be very helpful for the young professionals actually listening to this podcast, because if you are not understanding and just doing, that will be of no value, right? And I think AI, as we have discussed earlier, definitely can be an enabler, and we have to be adaptive of the environment, but it doesn't define us.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely, I agree with you. Finding your authentic tone, looking at, how do we actually drive authenticity, how do we bring in transparency. These are, like, I may be repeating myself, but these are skills and styles that will never fade.
Thank you, Mr. Mahapatra, for joining us today. I think this podcast will be very meaningful for all the viewers, because I got to learn so many things, and I'm sure other people must take advantage of your immense experience and knowledge. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you so much. And in closing, I must say that AI is your powerful differentiator, but more than that, your voice and your values are your USP. And lastly, it is important to see disruption is not the enemy. It is a reason for why we need to communicate better.
Of course. That again ends with a beautiful
Thank you.
note. Yeah.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.